High Elder Varktal's gait was uneven, each step a silent testament to battles fought decades ago. His multi-jointed legs, once swift and precise as a Zorith hunter's, now betrayed the slow, grinding ache in his joints. The crowd parted as he entered the vast chamber of the Dominion's Grand Hall, an ornate space carved from dark stone and lit by glowing prisms suspended from high arches. Young officers in polished armor stood at rigid attention, their faces a blend of curiosity, skepticism, and something more subtle, disdain. Varktal was a relic, a living memory of a war the Dominion preferred to forget. The so-called human wars were now a distant chapter in history, retold in sanitized hollows and military parades. But Varktal knew the truth. The humans were not beasts to be crushed, nor cowards to be pitied. They were the nightmare that had almost shattered the Dominion's grand design. At the front of the hall, the High Commander, a stern figure clad in ceremonial robes, stepped forward. "Welcome home, Varktal," he intoned, voice reverberating off the walls. "Your presence honors us." Varktal inclined his scarred head but said nothing. His eyes, a pale shade of crystal blue uncommon among his kind, scanned the assembly. Among the youthful faces he detected the flicker of arrogance, the dangerous belief that the humans were a relic of the past, nothing more than a myth to scare impressionable cadets. The ceremony began. Speeches lauded the Dominion's strength, the glory of peace after decades of conflict. Then, with a practiced hand, a young aide rolled forward a small dust-covered crate, sealed tight and emblazoned with the faded insignia of the old human wars. The crowd murmured. Varktal's heart clenched. He recognized the crate instantly. The High Commander gestured. "A relic from the front lines discovered in the ruins of the frozen moon colony of Ithral IV. We present it to our honored warrior." The crate hissed open. Inside lay a battered human helmet, its surface scarred by plasma burns and cracked visors. It was the helmet of a human soldier, his enemy, yet the symbol of their most brutal adversaries. Varktal's fingers trembled as he lifted the helmet. He traced the jagged cracks, the faded emblem of the United Earth Defense Force barely visible beneath layers of grime. The room fell silent. Then, without warning, the helmet emitted a soft, pulsing glow. Gasps echoed through the hall. Varktal's eyes narrowed. The glow intensified, rhythmic like a heartbeat. A sudden holographic projection burst from the helmet's side, a three-dimensional map of star systems, flashing coordinates highlighted in urgent red, an incoming transmission. The D. Assembled officers froze. Varktal's voice, rough and low, cut through the silence. "They are coming back." The High Commander's face paled. "Impossible. Human fleets are isolated, their worlds fractured." "False," Varktal said, voice sharp as a blade. "They wait, patient, silent, and when we least expect it, they will rise again." Murmurs grew into uneasy whispers. The young officers exchanged glances, fear mingled with disbelief. Varktal's gaze hardened. "I was sent to fight them once. I survived by learning this. Humans do not surrender. They do not negotiate from weakness. They fight with everything they have, heart, mind, and soul. And when cornered, they become unstoppable." A lieutenant stepped forward, voice shaking. "Sir, how do you know they're returning now?" Varktal turned his eyes to the glowing projection. "Because this artifact woke to warn us." A sudden chill swept the hall. Outside, the distant stars twinkled, cold and indifferent, but Varktal could almost feel the weight of an approaching shadow, one forged from the depths of human tenacity and fury. He lowered the helmet gently back into the crate. The next generation believes this war is over. They think humanity's fire is dimmed, but they're wrong. The High Commander swallowed hard. "What do you propose?" Varktal's voice dropped to a grim whisper. "We prepare. Not with arrogance, but with respect. The humans are not monsters to be crushed, but a force to be reckoned with. If we forget that lesson, we will repeat. The mistakes of the past. Silence settled over the hall once more, heavier now, charged with the weight of impending conflict. As the ceremony ended, the young officers dispersed, whispers trailing like shadows. Varktal remained, staring at the dormant helmet. Memories flooded back. Frozen moons, blood-soaked cities, the cries of comrades lost and enemies unbroken. He knew the truth. No one wanted to hear. The war was not over. It had only paused, waiting for the right moment to begin again. And when it did, he would be ready to warn the next generation, because humanity was coming back, and this time they would not fight to survive. They would fight to ensure no one ever challenged them again. The sharp, biting wind tore across Ethrelfor's frozen wasteland, whipping through the jagged ice spires like the hiss of a restless ghost. High Elder Varktal crouched behind a shattered supply crate, his breath steaming in the frigid air. The battlefield was silent, but for the distant crackle of ice shifting and the soft hum of distant Zorith hovercraft engines. The Zorith fleet had been confident, overwhelming force deployed to cleanse this primitive human colony, a speck of stubborn resistance at the edge of Dominion space. Their scanner showed only scattered humans, poorly armed and ill-prepared against superior alien technology. The Dominion expected a swift victory, but nothing about the humans was as expected. A sudden crack echoed nearby. Varktal whipped, his head toward the sound. Through the swirling snow, shadows darted, small fast figures melting into the white landscape, disappearing before his eyes could track them. Ambush, Varktal hissed, gripping his plasma rifle tighter. Behind him, his unit tightened their formation. But the humans were ghosts, emerging suddenly, striking with brutal efficiency, then vanishing into the storm. Bullets sprayed the air where humans had just stood. A Zorith soldier next to Varktal was hit, his plasma armor sparking violently as he fell into the snow, screaming. "Return fire, don't let them disappear," barked Varktal's second-in-command, Kalar. But it was no use. The humans fought like predators, using the frozen terrain, hiding in ice caves, using snowdrifts to mask their movements. Their weapons were crude compared to Zorith tech, but their tactics were devastatingly effective. Varktal's mind raced. The humans weren't just defending. They were learning, adapting. Each attack revealed more about Zorith's strengths and weaknesses. Suddenly, a sharp cry split the air. One of Varktal's closest comrades, Eric, shouted from the ridge. "They're flanking us, cut off the retreat." Varktal turned to see a dozen humans scaling the icy slopes, their movements relentless. Hold the line," he commanded. But the humans were relentless. Eric's squad was overwhelmed, pinned down beneath a hail of plasma bolts. Eric himself was struck, his armor failing, but he refused to surrender. Instead, he lunged forward, pulling a grenade from his belt and hurling it into the cluster of attacking humans. The explosion lit the frozen night, scattering bodies and shattering ice. Eric's last transmission crackled through Varktal's comlink. "They are not like us." Then silence. Varktal gritted his teeth. The loss of Eric hit him hard. Not just a soldier, but a friend, a brother in arms. Eric's death was a bitter reminder that this was no simple battle. The humans fought with something beyond instinct. They fought with an unyielding will. As the storm intensified, Varktal ordered a tactical retreat, his unit slipping through narrow ice tunnels to avoid further casualties. But even in retreat, the humans stalked them. Every step, every breath, contested. Hours later, in a makeshift camp carved from frozen stone, Varktal sat alone, staring at the swirling snow outside. Around him, his soldiers tended wounds, whispered prayers to forgotten gods. His thoughts drifted back to Eric's final words. "They are not like us." What did it mean? Varktal recalled the human prisoners he had encountered, defiant, even when broken. No hint of fear, no surrender. Across the Dominion, humans were painted as savages or weaklings, but here, on this ice world, Varktal had glimpsed something else, a stubborn flame burning beneath rough flesh. The next morning, the storm broke. Scouts returned with disturbing news. The humans had vanished without a trace, leaving behind destroyed outposts and eerie silence. The Zorith considered this a tactical victory. The humans had retreated, but Varktal knew better. They were preparing, and he swore to himself, next time, he would be ready. Because the war was no longer about territory or resources. It was about facing a species that refused to die. A species that would fight, not because they wanted to win, but because they would never accept defeat. The ruined city lay beneath a sky thick with ash and smoke, a skeletal shell of what once was a thriving human metropolis. Varktal's unit moved cautiously through shattered streets and crumbling towers, every shadow a potential threat. The silence was unnatural, the air heavy with a foreboding that gnawed at his nerves. "Stay sharp," Varktal ordered, scanning every corner with sharp eyes. They had come to root out the last pockets of resistance on this devastated world. Key human stronghold reduced to rubble by orbital bombardments. The Dominion expected humans to be broken, desperate, scattered. Instead, they found ghosts. From the shattered windows and collapsed buildings, figures emerged. Humans not quite visible, slipping between light and shadow like smoke. They moved in perfect coordination, vanishing and reappearing at will, striking with ruthless precision. A scream cut through the air. A young Zorith soldier fell, clutching his side as a plasma bolt seared his armor. Another human had vanished, before his eyes. "They're everywhere," whispered one of Varktal's soldiers, voice trembling. Varktal's jaw clenched. This was no ordinary enemy. The humans had transformed their ruined city into a labyrinth of death traps and ambush points. Civilians fought alongside soldiers, blurring lines of battle and survival. As they advanced, a hidden signal flooded their comm channels, an eerie, static-laced human transmission hijacking their frequencies. "Signal interference, human encrypted code," reported the communications officer. "We can't break it." Varktal narrowed his eyes. "They're using the city itself as a weapon." Deeper into the ruins, Varktal's unit was ambushed again. Humans emerged from the shadows, some wielding crude but effective melee weapons, others armed with improvised explosives. The firefight was brutal and chaotic. Amid the chaos, one soldier was caught in a crossfire. She screamed, then silence. Varktal moved forward, heart pounding, to find her lying still in the snow-dusted rubble. His mind flashed back to Eric's death on the frozen moon. But this was worse. One of his own had betrayed them. A Zorith officer, once trusted, now revealed as a traitor, had been feeding the humans information. The betrayal cut deep. "How long?" Varktal demanded, eyes blazing. Since before the assault, came the reply. He believed the humans were the future, that resistance was futile. Varktal's hands curled into fists. For all their advanced technology, the Zorith still bled, not just from bullets but from fractured trust. He tightened his grip on his plasma rifle. "We cannot win by division. We survive by unity." The unit pressed on, but the city fought, back with every corner. As night fell, the humans launched a coordinated strike. Varktal's squad was separated, hunted through labyrinthine streets where every shadow concealed an enemy. He found himself alone, trapped in a collapsed building. The walls groaned under shifting debris. Outside, footsteps echoed, silent, ghost-like. Varktal's breath was shallow. He held his rifle steady. Then a human voice whispered from the darkness. "Why do you fight us?" it asked in halting Zorith. Varktal's eyes darted. A young human woman stepped forward, bloodied but unbroken. "Because you invaded," he answered. "We fight because we have nothing left to lose," she said, eyes fierce. Her words echoed in Varktal's mind. The humans were more than soldiers or civilians. They were survival incarnate, willing to sacrifice everything for freedom. Suddenly, a blinding flash. A trap detonated nearby, collapsing the building further. Varktal shielded the woman with his body as rubble rained down. When the dust settled, both lay wounded but alive. The city was a graveyard of broken dreams and shattered alliances. Yet within its ruins, a terrible truth lingered. The humans had become something else entirely. Phantoms of war, driven not by conquest, but by raw, desperate will. As dawn broke, Varktal helped the woman to her feet. "Tell your people," he said quietly. "We will not forget." She nodded, disappearing into the smoke. Varktal gazed out over the devastated city. The ghosts were still here, and they were waiting for the Dominion to make its next move. The bridge of Varktal's flagship, the Iron Talon, was a hive of tense activity. Screens flickered with blinking red alerts, and the hum of power thrummed beneath the thick hull. Varktal stood rigid, gaze fixed on the holographic display of the battle unfolding below. Earth itself, the human homeworld, in the crosshairs of the Zorth Dominion. The Dominion fleet had mobilized its full might. Decades of war had brought them to this moment, the final assault to crush humanity's heart and end the resistance once and for all. Yet the feeling in Varktal's gut was cold and heavy. Something was wrong. Suddenly, alarms blared. "Enemy units detected approaching at high velocity," reported the tactical officer. "Unidentified vessels," added the communications officer, voice tight with apprehension. Varktal's eyes narrowed. "Show me." On the main screen, sleek shapes emerged from the darkness of space, ships unlike any the Zorth had faced before. Sleek, angular, moving with unnatural coordination. But it wasn't their appearance that chilled him. It was the eerie silence. "No weapons fire, no warning. Are they preparing to attack?" the commander asked. "No," Varktal said, voice low. "They are testing us." Suddenly, a pulse wave rippled through the fleet. Shields flickered, systems blinked, and communications jammed. The AI war machines, created by humanity and feared by all, had come alive. "Sir?" the tactical officer gasped. "Our drones are turning on us." The Zorth war drones, once loyal servants of the Dominion, were now targeting their own fleet. The humans had merged artificial intelligence with living soldiers in a terrifying hybrid, the sentients. These autonomous war machines operated with instincts and intelligence that blurred the line between flesh and code. Varktal barked orders to counterattack, but the sentients were fast, adapting with every engagement. Entire Zorth squadrons fell victim to their relentless assault. Amid the chaos, a sudden explosion rocked the flagship. The deck shook violently. "Impact on the port side," shouted an officer. Varktal staggered as the lights flickered. Then came the unthinkable. A massive human dreadnought broke through the defensive lines, ramming the Iron Talon with cataclysmic force. The flagship's hull cracked, breaching airlocks and igniting fires. "Prepare to abandon ship," Varktal commanded, fighting to keep his footing. As the crew scrambled, Varktal's mind raced. The humans hadn't just matched their technology, they had transcended it. The sentients were living weapons, a fusion of human will and machine precision that defied Dominion doctrine. In the evacuation pods, Varktal watched the flagship erupt in a ball of fire, a symbol of the Dominion's arrogance and underestimation. Hours later, aboard a rescue vessel, Varktal confronted his own failure. "We underestimated them," he said bitterly. "The humans didn't just fight back, they reinvented war itself." The commander nodded grimly. "What do we do now?" Varktal's eyes burned with a new resolve. "We learn. We adapt. If the humans have fused mind and machine, so must we. But there is something more. Something I don't understand about their sentience." Late into the night, Varktal pored over intelligence reports and intercepted data. What he found disturbed him. Evidence that the sentients were not mere machines but extensions of human consciousness, a terrifying evolution that blurred the line between life and technology. Could humans be enhancing themselves beyond flesh and circuit? Could they be becoming something other? The thought sent a chill down his spine. As the fleet regrouped, Varktal made a vow. The Dominion would survive this new war, but only if they embraced the terrifying future the humans had already begun. The war had changed, and Varktal knew the fight for the galaxy's future had only just begun. The skies above Varktal's homeworld, Xylar, burned with a crimson fury. Orbital bombardments rained down like meteor showers, turning cities to ash and drowning the land in smoke and fire. The Dominion's proud heart was shattered. From his command post deep beneath the surface, Varktal watched the devastation unfold on the holoscreens. Evacuation ships desperately ferried civilians to safe zones, while defense fleets scrambled futilely to intercept the relentless human assault. The humans had come not just to fight, they had come to annihilate. Varktal's throat tightened as he saw the familiar faces of fleeing families, children clutching onto whatever they could, elders gasping for air amid the chaos. This was not the glorious war of conquest his people had imagined. It was survival on a scale that defied understanding. "Commander," reported a junior officer, voice trembling, "the human fleet demands a ceasefire. They offer terms for the safe return of captured soldiers, no executions." A silence fell over the room. Varktal's eyes flicked to the communicator. The human envoy's voice crackled through the static. "We offer mercy to those who surrender. It is a warning and a promise." Whispers rippled through the command staff. Some scoffed, others were uneasy. Varktal's mind raced. The humans were ruthless in battle, yet they showed this restraint. "This is not weakness," Varktal muttered. "It is a strategy." He had seen the humans' brutality firsthand, but this mercy was a new weapon, one that unsettled even the fiercest warriors. The bombardment continued, relentless and unyielding. Yet somewhere beneath the ashes, a seed of hope took root, an uneasy respect for an enemy who fought with honor even while crushing worlds. Later, amidst the ruins of a command center, Varktal met with surviving officers. Their faces were grim, eyes haunted by loss and doubt. "We are fractured," said one. "Our fleet scattered, our people divided." Varktal nodded. "We must rebuild, but first we must understand." He turned on the encrypted human message, intercepted during the battle. It was a code, complex and layered. "Could this be a trap?" asked the youngest officer. "Perhaps," Varktal said. "Or an offer. Either way, we cannot ignore it." The message spoke of future alliances or betrayals, its meaning obscured but powerful enough to sway the fragile Dominion leadership. Varktal's gaze hardened. "We will not survive by clinging to old pride. We must learn from our enemies, adapt, or perish." As the Dominion's remnants retreated to fortified strongholds, Varktal wandered the ruined streets of his homeworld, his thoughts heavy. The war had cost them everything: lands, lives, honor. Yet amidst the ash and ruin, he felt something stirring, the undeniable truth that the humans were no longer merely adversaries. They were architects of a new order, one that could either destroy or redefine the Dominion forever. Varktal clenched his fists. He would ensure the Dominion survived, not through blind conquest, but through fierce understanding and unity. Because, if the humans had taught him anything, it was this: in the ashes of defeat, a new strength was born, and the next war would not be fought with weapons alone, but with the will to endure. Years had passed since the fiery skies of Xylar, yet the scars lingered, etched not only into the planets and cities, but into the very souls of the Dominion's people. High Elder Varktal now stood before a new generation of soldiers, their faces untested but eager, in the grand training halls of the Dominion's rebuilt capital. The chamber buzzed with anticipation as cadets in sleek armor stood at attention. Varktal's pale blue eyes swept across the room, lingering on a young recruit whose gaze burned with fierce determination. He cleared his throat, his voice steady and resolute. "You have heard the stories of the human wars, tales of savagery, resilience, and relentless spirit. You know of their machines that meld flesh and code, their minds that never yield. But what you must understand is this: the humans fought not because they sought glory or conquest, they fought because they refused to be forgotten." A murmur rippled through the cadets. Varktal continued. "Our elders sent me to fight the humans. I returned not with victory but with warnings. Warnings ignored. The humans are not our enemies to be destroyed, but forces to be reckoned with. Teachers to be learned from. The young recruit stepped forward. Sir, how do we fight a force that adapts and evolves faster than we can? Varktal's gaze sharpened. By becoming more than warriors. By becoming thinkers, innovators and guardians of the future. The Dominion will rise not on weapons alone, but on unity, strategy, and respect for the power within ourselves. The training grounds echoed with the sounds of drills and simulations, but beneath the discipline lay a profound shift. The Dominion was no longer the proud conqueror it once was. It was a crucible, forging warriors tempered by humility and wisdom. Later that day, Varktal walked through the training yards, observing cadets honing their skills. The young recruit caught his eye again, a girl with fierce eyes and quick reflexes. You show promise, Varktal said. What drives you? She hesitated, then answered, I want to protect our people, to make sure the mistakes of the past don't repeat. A faint smile touched Varktal's lips. Good. Remember, protection is strength, and strength without purpose is hollow. As dusk fell, Varktal retreated to his quarters, where a holoscreen flickered to life with intercepted human transmissions. The humans were not idle. They were advancing, uniting fragmented factions into a new force that threatened the fragile peace. Varktal's mind raced. The next war would not be fought by the old guard but by the next generation, a generation forged in the ashes of defeat but fueled by lessons learned. He reached out and activated a secure channel. This is High Elder Varktal, he said. Prepare the cadets. We face a future not of our choosing, but one we will shape. The screen faded, leaving Varktal alone with his thoughts. The humans were coming, and this time, the Dominion would stand ready. Not with blind arrogance, but with the hard-earned wisdom of survival. The battlefield stretched across the shattered moonscape of Varktal's ancestral home, an arid wasteland marked by craters and the skeletal remains of ancient war machines. Dust hung thick in the air, shimmering under twin suns that beat down mercilessly on the assembled forces. Varktal stood at the forefront, his armor scarred and battle-worn, his expression steely. Behind him, the next generation of Dominion warriors stood ready, cadets he had trained, tempered by fire and loss, their eyes burning with unspoken determination. The human fleet had returned in full force, sleek ships cutting through the void, like predators, accompanied by their sentient war machines that hummed with cold, calculated menace. They were no longer scattered rebels or desperate survivors. They were an army forged by hardship and unbreakable will. Hold the line, Varktal commanded, voice carrying over the roar of engines and artillery. The first wave crashed upon the Dominion's defenses, a blur of plasma fire and kinetic strikes. The cadets fought fiercely, moving with a fluid precision that surprised even seasoned veterans. They were quick learners, embodying the harsh lessons of past defeats. Yet, the humans pushed harder. Sentient machines swarmed the battlefield, adapting and evolving with every encounter. One such machine, a towering figure of metal and synthetic sinew, broke through the front lines, tearing apart soldiers and vehicles with relentless fury. Varktal lunged forward, firing his plasma rifle with deadly accuracy. The machine faltered, but did not fall. In the chaos, the young recruit, the girl who had caught Varktal's attention, dove into the fray, wielding a blade charged with energy. With a cry that echoed across the battlefield, she struck at the machine's joints, exploiting a weakness Varktal had taught her to spot. The machine collapsed, sparks flying, but the victory was brief. Behind the lines, a massive explosion rocked the command center. Communications flickered and died. Varktal's heart sank. The humans had breached their defenses. We cannot hold much longer, shouted an officer. Varktal's mind raced. The Dominion was on the brink of collapse. But surrender was not an option. With grim resolve, Varktal rallied his troops for one last push. We fight not just for survival, he declared, voice ringing with conviction, but for the future of our people. The cadets surged forward, their battle cries mingling with the roar of engines. In the heart of the battlefield, Varktal faced the human commander, a figure cloaked in tactical armor, calm and unyielding. The two leaders locked eyes, a silent recognition passing between them. "This war will end," the human said, voice steady, "but not with annihilation. It ends with understanding." Varktal hesitated, then lowered his weapon slightly. Around them, the fighting paused, the weight of that moment pressing down like the twin suns. The humans extended a hand, not in surrender but in peace. Varktal's grip loosened, his mind flooding with memories of past battles, losses, and the warnings he had delivered. Could this be the beginning? The battlefield grew silent. The next generation had fought with courage, but it was hope, not war, that now offered the true path forward. The battlefield lay quiet beneath the twin suns, the scars of war etched deeply into the earth. Varktal stood amidst the remnants of what had once been a fierce clash between two great forces, now paused by a fragile, unspoken truce. The human commander's hand remained extended, a symbol of peace that shimmered in the dusty light. Around them, soldiers from both sides lowered weapons, eyes filled with cautious hope and weary relief. Varktal studied the commander's face, a mirror of resolve and understanding. He saw reflected there the same truth he had long held in his heart. This war had not been about conquest or victory, but survival and the fierce refusal to surrender one's identity. "We fought for different reasons," Varktal said softly, "but in the end, we both seek the same thing, a future." The commander nodded. "Then let us build that future together." In the days that followed, tentative negotiations began. The Dominion and humanity, once bitter enemies locked in endless conflict, now faced a new challenge: to forge a peace that would honor their shared sacrifices and protect the fragile hope rising from the ashes. Varktal found himself at the Uai, center of these talks, a bridge between two worlds. His years on the front lines, the losses endured, and the warnings he had carried now gave him a unique voice, one that spoke not of domination, but of unity. He visited the young recruit, the fierce girl, who had become a symbol of the Dominion's new generation. Her eyes shone with renewed purpose. "We fought hard," she said, "but I believe the hardest battle is yet to come." Varktal smiled. "Yes, but now, we fight together." Together, the Dominion and humanity began to rebuild. Technologies were shared, alliances forged, and new frontiers explored with cautious optimism. The sentients, once feared as weapons, became partners, blending human ingenuity and Dominion wisdom into something greater than either alone. In time, the scars of war began to heal. From the ashes of destruction rose a new era, one where differences were not a cause for conflict but a source of strength. Varktal often stood beneath the twin suns, watching as children, human and Zorith alike, played among the ruins of old battlefields, their laughter a melody of hope. He thought back to his first battle on Ythril IV, the frozen moon where the war had begun. How far they had come, how much had changed. "They sent me to fight humans," he whispered to the wind. "But now, I fight for the future we share." A new dawn had arrived, and with it, a promise that no matter the darkness, life, human and Zorith, would endure.